Trustee?
Testing,
Did Jeremy say
testing.
good?
Are we on?
Hello, hello, testing.
It's on, yes?
Testing.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You can hear me?
Done, done, done.
Yes.
It is 5:15. It is 5:15. We'll call this meeting to order. Rock Valley College, Community District 511, Committee of the Whole meeting, July 9th. You have a call to order, please. Could we have a roll call, please?
Gorski.
Yes, here.
Nelson. Padilla.
Here.
Kennedy. Here. Michaels.
Present.
Simpson.
Here.
Soltow. Trojan.
Yes, here.
We have enough for a quorum.
Do we have any member attendance by means other than physical presence? I don't think so.
No.
I do know that Trustee Soltow will not be here. Any communications and petitions?
No communications or petitions.
Any visitors to be recognized?
No visitors to be recognized at this time.
And review of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, June 11th, 2024. Are there any comments to be made? Hearing none. General presentation, the Downtown West Campus update.
Good evening, board members. We will be giving a presentation tonight. I'm going to be calling to the podium Dominic DeMonica, principal architect at DKA, and he will be having some of the members of his team also discuss the downtown project where we stand at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Jenks, and good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present where we are with the overall process for the design of your new downtown campus. As I have done with most of the other presentations, I always want to start with a timeline to let you know where we are in the process and where we're ultimately heading. So as you can see on the screen on the timeline, the vertical red line is where we are today on July 9th for the Committee of the Whole meeting. You'll see at the very top here that we're starting to bisect what's called the design development phase. So we have completed schematic design, which has been a very iterative process to understand the shape of the building, the programs that are going to go into the facility, working very closely with the college and Ringland Johnson, reconciling budgets and costs and all of those good things. We're past that, and now we're jumping into design development here. What you're going to see as this is developing, the schedule, we're breaking down the bidding process into a lot of different packages. And that is a result of working very closely with Ringland Johnson, your construction manager, making sure that we're going to get all the products and the materials and everything that we need when we need it to ultimately hit our deadline here, which is getting you in that facility by the fall of 2026. So we are on track to continue to do that. Yes, sir, was that a question?
No changes in the lines horizontally from the previous?
The only changes have been kind of these packages as we've been kind of shifting those. The most important thing to us is when we're starting construction, the start of that dark blue line, and when that end of that dark blue line is going to occur. We want to make sure that everything is lined up so we can break ground as early as possible in the spring of next year, and that's what we're working toward.
Okay.
I will mention the orange line, the horizontal orange line is the permitting process that you see. We're beginning that process. That's going to have multiple phases. We had an excellent meeting with the city of Rockford a couple of weeks ago, it was, and gave them the rundown on the scope of the project. They seem very willing to work with us on everything that we need to do and get the planned unit development, the PUD process to consolidate your site. A lot of moving parts on that site, but that is all moving in the correct direction as well.
Great.
Thank you.
So in terms of the overall site design, I'm going to go through the site design, the building design, and my colleague Greg Spitzer is going to talk about the massing and the way the building is going to look both from the exterior and from the interior. So as you see on the screen, obviously we have the two parcels of property. That PUD that I mentioned is going to be the process of consolidating those two parcels together and making that essentially one parcel for the college to own. As we've had numerous conversations about, we do know that Rockton Avenue is going to be vacated. The easements for the utilities, the water, the electric, some of the other things that are running down their sewer are going to remain. So we're going to keep that there, which has caused the need for 2 separate buildings. And we've, again, talked about that at some of our previous discussions. This really works well for keeping that easement in place and for ensuring that the grading that drops about 14 feet from the east side all the way to the west side, we can balance that fill by getting those buildings in 2 separate footprints in the overall site. You'll see that by vacating that area, we're also maintaining a nice connection point, a little plaza, if you will, between the west side of the community building. We're calling the building on the east side the community building, and the building that's on the west side is our CTE, or Career and Technical Ed building, because it's primarily housing those programs overall for the program needs. So we'll have that nice little plaza that we're developing in here. You'll see all the parking. We've fit all the parking in as much as we can between the buildings that are going to sit on the site. On the west side, we do have an area that's developed into a truck driver training pad, and all of the parking that is west of the CTE building, that is all parking for the vehicles that are part of that program. That's not general community parking. But the rest of the parking is all open parking for the community. We have an entrance coming into the site essentially from Winnebago on the east side of the overall site, and then we have another entrance coming in line with Rockton, and that will continue to get you into this whole area, and some entrances and exits off of Short Horseman on the west. So we think we've been able to develop the site in a pretty compact way and get everything where it needs to be to support the programs that you're looking at.
Well, I do see an entrance on Chestnut, right?
So the entrance on Chestnut will remain for the parking. This is not your parking. This is the Rockford Housing Authority. So currently, this comes in, and then it turns into the Rockford Housing Authority parking lot. That is not your property, so your property line, you can kind of see, ends right here. So we had to maintain that entrance in for that to occur. Yes, ma'am.
So that parking lot, are they going to get a new parking lot? And if so, who are they paying for that? Like, since it's part of the construction, or?
It's not part of the construction. We're going to have our fence line right here, so it'll be outside of the construction zone. The one thing that I will mention is just right here on this corner. Right now, their parking lot kind of extends all the way to Winnebago here. And as we've talked about this being the community building and the entrance, we thought it would be really nice if there was a nice pathway that really addressed the rest of the city. And so the college is working with the Housing Authority to work out some way where that can be developed. It's still going to be owned by the Rockford Housing Authority, but we will work on developing that so there's an entry plaza into the overall site off of that intersection. Okay?
Yep.
So I'm going to really quickly go over the plans. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but by building, starting with the east building or the community building, you'll see as it sat on the site, this will be the main, we'll call it public entrance or community entrance from that corner that we just talked about. It comes into a nice lobby space here. Knowing that up in the upper level, we have a large meeting space for gatherings and events. This will be kind of a mixing chamber, if you will, with areas for folks to hang out, and then also for students who are in this facility to kind of casually hang out between classes that they might have. This area right in here is the primary office suite in the building. This part right in here is adult education back in here. And then we have, I'm sorry, this is immigrant and refugee services. We flipped them recently. And this is adult education back in here. And then we have a general office suite for the folks that'll be managing the site, essentially. So they'll have 3 separate entrances coming in right off of that lobby, and then back of house is all connected so they can share things like workrooms and break rooms and whatnot. Off of this lobby, you'll see that we do have a main welcome desk, reception desk, that's located right in view of that main entrance, and also off of the entrance that faces the primary parking lot. So folks that are coming in will come in this way as well, so they can catch anybody that's entering the facility. You'll see some classrooms, toilet rooms, and this is the early childhood education core right in here. And this door here takes you right out into an outdoor play space. And this is that exit that takes you right across over to the CTE building that's in alignment there. So when you take this stair up to the upper level, it takes you out right up in here, and that takes you to a pre-function space that's right outside of this primary event and gathering space. Think about 280 seats. Is that the number? 224 seats, the way it's currently laid out, and that is at round tables, 8 people per round table. We can get quite a few more if we go in theater style, all facing the front. We are showing an area for a platform or a stage. Each one of these rooms will have a folding partition, so we can break it up into 3 separate rooms, one large room and a small room, or 1 large room. So you've got some flexibility in terms of how you use that space. We have a, yes, sir.
Can you remind me, why do we have that space?
I'm going to defer to somebody at the college. Programmatically, it was part of the overall program that was discussed.
Part of the discussions we had earlier was we want to find ways to bring the community in for events and other things from around the area and have a space where we can have people come in. That's part of the problem we don't have here on main campus, is we don't have a place to have people come in, have a conference, have some sort of a get-together that doesn't occupy classroom space. So the goal is to have that for community space, to bring the community in, get them used to Rock Valley College, get them understanding and familiar with the campus, and hopefully by doing that, they will start to transition and become more comfortable with the college so that they can continue and come for educational purposes.
And if you add on to that, you'll have 3 spaces, or you can have 1. So you have the flexibility so that if we need additional classroom space, we will be able to use that for classroom space as well. And remember, we were basically using Stenstrom Flex Lab area for any large conference space. We don't have it on campus.
Well, I don't remember that because I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I've only been there since 2017.
I remember it. Paul?
I was wondering, are you building out any audio-video capabilities in that space?
It will definitely have it, yes,
Okay,
yes, sir.
great.
Yeah, each one of these rooms will have its own large screen, video, audio system throughout, and then the long throw projectors will probably be on the backside in here. So that's going to be one of the things in terms of flexibility when you open up those walls so that you can use one lectern that might be tied to one to toggle it to be able to operate 2 simultaneously.
And if I may have a second question real quick?
Let's go to Kristen next, and then we'll come back to you.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be able to rent, you're saying rent this out for community events, weddings, parties, or are we just talking conferences, or just whoever wants to rent it?
We'll be able to rent it out. So right now, as a community college, we rent out the space depending on the request. And if it's not hosted by student organizations or somebody on campus, then we charge those organizations for the space.
We do have this is a catering kitchen, warming kitchen that's set up, so depending on what kind of event you have there, caterers can come in, set up, and then this corridor brings things in and out as in a banquet style type environment.
Paul?
Well, then I have 2 questions. One, to follow up that, if we're going to be renting that space out, what type of security do you have on that side of the building to keep it isolated from the people that would be renting it?
We'll still have police around the building as well. You want to speak to security?
So typically on our buildings, we really don't isolate our buildings for that, because when these events are going on, 99% of the time the building's open. This building will probably be open till 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So there's really not a need to separate them because the event that's being held there will probably end similar to the others. So it's not worth the extra cost to do that.
Okay. And my second question would have been, what's the space directly opposite those stairs on the other side?
Right in this area, sir?
Right there, right there.
So this is the elevator for the building.
Okay.
Then the
That's
two-
where I was going. I just wanted to hear that word.
That was
That's-
my
Yeah.
question. That was my question, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is AG all gender bathroom?
It is, yes. Good pickup.
We will have an elevator.
Both buildings will have an elevator, certainly making it handicap accessible.
Any other questions on this chart? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so rounding out the balance, this is all just some classroom space on the west side. There is a flex space that's built in to support some of the various programs that may have a need for flexible types of environments. The police training, for example, may need a flex space, early childhood education. So I'm going to switch now to the other building, the west building or the CTE building. This is a pretty compact plan. We've done a lot to consolidate and reduce overall square footage. What you'll see in the pink, and I won't go through all the parts and pieces here, but that's generally the automotive technology space. The big auto tech lab that's on the west side, some of the support functions like electric vehicle lab and the advanced driving assistance system lab, and then you've got the gas engine and transmission labs across the hall. And everything that you see in orange on the north side is the collision repair program. So that's paint booths, prep booths, open bays for collision repair that come in. And if you recall, all of the doors, the overhead doors will be coming in from the west side to work with the grades on the site. When we get to the second floor of this building, the second floor is primarily just this quadrant or this third. It's primarily classroom space, space for students to gather. They're in these labs for many, many hours throughout the day, so they need some spaces to hang out in this building. We have some classrooms, again, to support the other programs, such as truck driver training. We have a simulator space for truck driver training in this area as well. And here is the elevator in that space. One thing I will mention is because of the grades, when you come into this building, it's somewhat of a split-level building. You go up a half a flight to get to this area. I'm sorry, the upper floor. You go down a half a flight to get to this one. So again, there's a lot of grading that we're working with, and that elevator will have stops at all those points to make sure everything's accessible.
Paul?
And just to confirm, that grading was because of the lay of the land without doing substantial work on the land to kind of build into the natural layout of the land.
Yes, sir. Yep.
John?
The first floor and the second floor, is there some kind of arrangement so that the fumes from the auto, various auto training things on the first floor don't impact the second floor?
Absolutely. So on the first floor here, what you're going to see is over this main area that has the full exhaust system. When I go up to the second floor, that's all roof above that. So that's going to exhaust directly to the roof area that will not go through any other parts of this space. And then the rest of this area here, these labs, again, electric vehicle, ADAS, you pull a car in, you turn it off. You'll have no vehicles running in any of these areas back in here. And those are the spaces that are directly below these areas in here. And just like the auto tech area here, all the fume exhaust and everything from the collision repair goes directly up to a roof and will be exhausted directly out. Okay.
Okay, next chart.
Okay, so that's the plan, that's the site plan, that's where we are on the schedule. I'm going to turn it over to Greg Spitzer, who's going to talk a little bit about what the building is hoping to look like.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk a bit about the exterior, how the building's starting to take shape on the site, And related to that, we wanted to recall this image that you see here, which is the primary vehicular circulation around the site. And this is the intersection of Chestnut and Winnebago here, and then Winnebago happening right here looking north. And part of what we've looked at is how to really connect this building to the community, really make it easy, understandable how to get there. The Rock Valley College image downtown, not only for vehicles, but also for pedestrians. So it was important for us to think about how that all kind of comes together and also fits within the Rockford context and scale. This image here of your campus, the main campus we're on now, we wanted to take into consideration when we're looking at the design relative to the branding of this building, the way it looks, the way it feels downtown, the Rock Valley College image and brand, and how we take that from here and extend that to the downtown location so it's recognizable, such as the warm tones you see on the buildings down and on this campus, bringing it downtown, such as concrete panels, painted metal panels. We worked really closely with Ringland Johnson, also Greg Cladar and his group, to ensure that we incorporate those materials as cost effectively as possible into this project and make it look as good as we can on the budget you have available. So this is an image of the proposed building right at the intersection of Chestnut and Winnebago, hovering above the site. And this is at Rockford Housing Authority parking that we're not touching. And our new building, the new college building, runs parallel to Chestnut. This is the eastern building, or the community building Dominic was speaking about earlier, with the conference center above right here. So that conference center is clad in a painted metal panel above a brick base, which houses the offices. And down the line here, as we continue towards the CTE building, we change to a precast concrete panel with some painted metal panels extending into that CTE building, which is primarily precast concrete with some painted metal as well. We've extended that plaza that Dominic spoke about to carry from that intersection of Chestnut and Winnebago to make a very welcoming pedestrian access point into the facility from the downtown fabric and context. This is another view. So this is the intersection of, I'm going to adjust this here, Green and Winnebago, looking to the northwest. This is the county building in the distance. This is the hovering conference center. We elevated it up on the second floor so we had views of the city. We'll see it in a second, to really create that connection from the conference center to downtown. The brick base, the concrete panels at the classroom wing that then lead to the CTE building located here. We created that garden space, kind of a plaza space in between the eastern building and the western building, as a place for students to engage and create a safe environment within this campus. We've also incorporated the early childhood education playground within that zone as well. This is a view now from the southwest portion of the site, looking back towards that community building. Within the foreground is the CTE building. You can see here more precast concrete. We've detailed around these entry points into the automotive areas, both for collision repair and auto tech, to create an entry portal into those spaces for cars. These areas out here are fenced in as yards for those cars, and in this area is the truck driver training pad that we have right here, yes.
Back to that other parking lot that's not ours, where is that on there?
That is located right in here. So this is the Rockford Housing Authority parking lot, which is on the extreme north side of the property. Your property line is located right in here. So this.
Where's the fence? Because you said there was a fence?
Not between that. I think that Dominic might have spoke about a construction fence during construction.
Oh, gotcha.
That was the fence he might have been speaking to.
So, it won't, when people pull in, are they able to use that parking lot? What are people going to know that it's not Rock Valley's park? I guess I'm just concerned, has it been there a while? You're going to put this beautiful new building up? How does that parking lot look?
Yeah, so there's signage there. It's been there a long time and is currently utilized by the Rockford Housing Authority. And the signage will have to continue that.
Is it going to look like, are people going to be like, why does Rock Valley, or is it going to confuse people?
So part of what we're looking at or exploring right now is we may have to move or encroach into the parking lot to build the building. And if we do that, we may end up having to resurface it to make it look a little nicer because of the construction. We're still working through that process right now, but the housing authority, they only use a small portion of the parking lot anyway on any given time. I suspect that students over time will find the most convenient place to park, wherever that might be, and they may use it as a parking spot, and we may have to shoo them away on occasions if we need to. But overall, you know, I don't think the parking lot is going to look terribly bad, you know, being in front of there. Yeah, obviously, if it was brand new, it might look better, but I think overall, it will still look very
And
nice.
we did try to get the parking lot, just so that we're all on the same
Several
page.
occasions.
All right, we've tried. They won't give up the parking lot. There's a process on the federal side that they have to go through, and they were not willing to do that piece of it. They said we could use the parking lot anytime, really much, because they don't really use it except for a major meeting and overflow parking. But they are willing to, my understanding is that after they have a better idea of what we're doing, that they may be willing to beautify that space a little bit more around that, in that area. So, but we'll wait till we're done, what we have to do, and then go back to them on some of that.
John, then Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I work downtown. I've seen the parking lot. I don't think it's in very good shape at all. And I do try to get the Rockford Housing Authority to see the light of day without success. And if we offer to repair the lot, which, you know, call me a cynic or whatever you want, I think we better get something in writing about how many spaces we can use, or, you know, notice when we can't use them, or make them put a gate up so that our students and we aren't in some kind of perennial aggravating situation with the Rockford Housing Authority.
Because it
And this-
definitely looks like it's part of Rock Valley College.
It
Well, I
will-
think it does.
It will have that look about it. And when I say about fixing the parking lot up, that's if we need to encroach into their parking lot. Anything that we do in that parking lot, any damage, anything like that, it will be our responsibility to replace it. But at this point, you know, they've said we can use the parking lot if we want to. That may change at a later date, but there's no official agreement with the housing
Right,
authority.
not yet. No.
But you're working on trying to get one.
We're having conversations with them. They are not, because they are a federal entity, it's not an easy ask.
Well, maybe you can call upon our federal lobbyists and ask them to help us out with that one. Paul and then John.
I think I heard John and maybe somebody else suggest that sweeten the pot, and we'd be willing to
I can.
fix or pay, but I'm not committing anything. I think that's what I heard. And I think I also heard, and for the record, if you put it in the minutes, John said we can call him cynical. So there you go.
So we will, it sounds like we have a little flexibility to look into it to see if we work with them to more beautify that location, that corner, and look into some type of IGA if we need to.
Right.
So
We
that
can
our
certainly do
students are
that.
not getting ticketed or kicked out of that space when they come in.
I think it'd be good to
Right?
do.
That's where we're at?
Yeah, in addition, I think that the line of sight to our property, we have an investment in trying to make it look as good, partnering with whomever, whether it's the city of Rockford on one side or somebody else, or, you know, the Winnebago County.
Yes, and they are aware of that because we've had this concern from the beginning. Dominic has talked about it. Rick has brought this back to me, so we've been going back and forth with them, and we'll keep pushing it and see how far they're willing to go to partner with us on beautifying the space or having the flexibility allow our students to use it. I know they didn't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, just noting, they are very receptive when we
Yes.
talk to them. The problem is everything they do apparently has to go through Washington, D.C., and that is a process.
Yes.
John, and then Gloria.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say that their lawyer was not very receptive when I talked to him. But I have nothing but respect for the government in Washington, D.C. I want you all to understand that. But I don't think it'd be that big of a problem if we got some help, and I'm sure that we can. So,
We'll look into it. Just know that it's just part of the process, but we will not allow this part of the process to slow us down with the major piece. But we'll look into that and try to see if we can clean this up a little more.
Okay, Gloria?
Yeah, I see fencing here and there, but I didn't see or explain to me if there is some fencing in the child play area.
Yes.
Toddlers' safety concerns me.
Yes, I'll go to an image here that
Yeah,
can
we'll-
point that out. This is the location of the playground, and it's elevated up above the adjacent grade with a retaining wall, so it's already a few feet higher than the sidewalk surrounding it. And there's a fence that surrounds it right in here. The access is directly from the early childhood education classroom right there into that playground.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
So that fence, no one can gain access or open that fence, correct? Or?
It's at a high elevation on a wall, on a retaining wall.
And
Yes.
there's no gate to the external, just
Okay.
the only way you can get into it is through the building, unless you scale it.
Okay, are we moving forward here?
All right. And I just did want to point out, too, on this image, that we are planning, in addition to some of the parking lot improvements that are being discussed right now, we are contemplating some landscaping here as a buffer as well between the building and the parking lot. And what you'll see when you're on the corner looking towards the building, some perimeter landscaping there. All right, so going to this image, so this is now down on the street level along the sidewalk that is on Winnebago facing south, and starting to see how the building becomes very visible. This might be as you're walking from the intermodal station, from the transit station towards the new building, and having it start to reveal itself. Coming closer to the building now and having it being a very welcoming facility. You can start to see some of that landscaping I was speaking about earlier surrounding the parking lot right in there. And then how that might start to feel at night if there's a nighttime event within the facility. And moving around to this image we just saw from the parking lot, we talked about the playground. This is the main entrance that will be entering into the building to gain access to all the spaces. There is also that entrance on the west side that faces the CTE building as well that connects to that plaza. And this is that plaza there, so there's that exit and entrance, and then over to the CTE building. This would become the main entrance to the CTE building, and then there'll be a southern entrance also to the CTE building, fed from the main parking lot on the site. This is an image on Chestnut, so it's approaching from the western neighborhoods in a car or on foot, starting to see that Rock Valley College branding on the CTE building and the entrance into the classroom building and the community building on this side, making a very welcoming approach to the site. Now moving on to the interior, this is on the inside of the east building, so the community building, kind of at that crossroads of the kind of T-shaped circulation pattern. We have the welcome desk located here. Kind of get your bearings, you can be directed to the different services within the facility. Upstairs then would be that pre-function space that Dominic spoke about earlier ahead of the conference room. And once you're up there, you start to get these great views, phenomenal views of downtown Rockford, some of the governmental buildings, lofts, and the BMO Center in the distance over there, the courthouse. And then that provides spaces for lounging outside of those conference centers, or you can exit, or enter, I should say, right into those conference rooms. This is what that conference room could look like. This is when all the partitions are open in a larger space, where it could be subdivided into the 3 spaces that was described earlier. And you can kind of start to see that AV that would be a part of that as well within those spaces. Now moving over to the CTE building, so this is the separate building to the west, and this will house the auto tech spaces. This is that split level that Dominic spoke about. You're entering at that split level. We did that, as Trustee Gorski indicated, for economy, to work with the grades that are on the site. You go up half a flight then to the classrooms and offices that are above, and then half a flight down to all the large auto tech and collision repair labs that are down on that lower level. And this yellow element here is the elevator that connects all the floors of the building. Working with the idea of potential graphics and branding inside this space, thinking about automotive componentry, doing some interesting work inside the building to give the impression of what's happening within the building to anyone entering into the building. And then moving up onto that second floor, this would be what greets you with a lounge space that terminates with some glass that overlooks the high bay auto tech spaces below. So really getting that visual connection into what's in the building and what's happening there. The rest of the corridor system would then feed the classrooms and the offices on that second level. Unless there's any questions, I'm going to turn it over to Greg to talk a little bit about budget. Greg.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about your exciting project. It's been fun working on it the last few months. And come with an update. I kind of want to start a little bit about how we got to this state. In the middle of April, on about April 15th, we received schematic design drawings, which are essentially about 33% schematic design drawings. And we started working on the budgeting, and we had a preliminary number about mid-May. And it became pretty obvious to the team that some additional work needed to be done. And there was a pretty large, we like to call it collaboration to cost. Some people would call it value engineering. And we went through a lot of different entities and made some significant changes to the building from their original design, keeping a lot of the main emphasis there, but considering almost all the exterior was changed to a more cost-effective finish. And I think you almost don't even see the change in look. A lot of it was just good ideas by the team, and we all work together strongly, and there's a great team. Your budget is $52,165,000. Right now, we're about $619,000 over that number, which at this point represents 1.19%, which I feel is pretty close. Our uncertainty with bidding and the market and even just where the design is probably greater than 1.19%. Also included in that number is a project contingency, a lump sum of $3,951,500. And it's been conveyed to us that contingency will stay as part of this project all the way through the bidding. And I think it's a conservative contingency that hopefully significant amount would be left over in a project. But we still got a lot of work to do, yes.
So why wouldn't you subtract out your variance out of your contingency? Because the contingency is sort of a this kind of thing, because we don't want to have any 1.1, only 1.1 over. We want it to be on or below.
Yeah. Considering where we're at in the process, we're still designing it. You know, this fall we're going to go through it probably even a more in-depth, because we'll have more information from the design team, more information on the site. But I think, Mr. Trojan, when we commit to keeping a contingency as part of the project, we need to set that aside and design around that, and says if that's going to be part of our project in the end, when we bring you the final bid numbers, and that'll be there, and our intent is to bring you to that on budget, we need to keep that there. And taking it from it now, my personal thing is still we would start to erode that away, and it's probably not, that's not the direction we're getting from Dr. Spearman and the rest of the staff here.
So your goal is not to touch it?
Yeah, goal is not to touch it.
Correct.
Exactly. So we don't want to touch it now.
Yeah, my specific goal that I tell them specifically is we're going to get below that and we're not going to touch the contingency. If I use the contingency now, that's not going to meet the goal. And I want to keep that contingency there.
Okay, Paul?
And this is really for you and for him. I think Bob's question is more, why wouldn't you mentally right now take the, you know, the overage from the contingency. If you're not taking it from the contingency, where is it coming from?
So there's still, the reason why they're leaving it as is because their goal is by the time they come back with a final product or a design, they would have taken that into consideration and knocked it down more. So at this point, they don't want to touch it because
Right.
the goal is that we're going to reduce that overall, not continue to go into it. So leave that as that, savings, we never touch it unless there's an emergency. And we're not, the goal is not to touch it, and as we continue to move forward, find ways to reduce that overall cost. And that's the goal, and pretend like that contingency is not there.
Yeah, that's the direction we got, and I think that's right. I mean, it also keeps the pressure on these guys a little bit, and on us too, knowing that we're not quite there yet, and that we're going to get there. But you realize, 8 weeks ago, I'll tell you what that number. The number was over $4 million. We were over when it first came out, and that we made significant changes. We took about $3.5 million out of this project since the middle of May. But the project needs to keep going. If we just kept working down, I mean, then these guys are stopped. They're not moving through. Through the team, we felt like it was time to move on to design development. There's more work to do to get there. We'll continue to work that down. But at some point, we still got a schedule we're committed to hit too. And so there's a balance of that. I think it's a good balance. I've been involved in most of the major projects in Rockford over the last 20 years. I can only remember one project that was this close to the budget at this time that I did. I've had other ones that were significantly over, and we still got them there. But a lot of it is the staff, Dr. Spearman, Rick, and the cooperation and the collaboration between the owner and us as a construction manager and clearly the designers. That's how we found those dollars. That collaboration will continue, and I'm very confident we're going to deliver you a very successful project on budget, Mr. Trojan.
Well, we will accept your goal of being on or below budget as stated. John?
I understand everything you've said. I agree with Bob, and we got a extra handout about the upcoming election. I'm not up for election, so I don't have to worry, I guess, if you call it worry. I just want to say, as a trustee, I don't think the voters are going to be able to grasp the idea that, we worked as hard as we could, but, we're over budget. And I know you are, you know what I mean? I'm not being, trying to be critical, but I am very much behind Bob, especially since, in my view, we're way over budget. But certainly, we don't want to, I think we're way over budget, then go to the taxpayers and voters and say, oh, geez, it's a great building, and but sure was expensive, and it was over budget. If you know what I mean. If you get my drift.
I understand. Thank you.
That's why we're working to reduce the cost and not factoring in the contingency so that when the project's done, I'm hoping we're going to have about $3 million of contingency money left, which means the building would come in $3 million under budget.
Okay, I think we
Well,
made
that's what we're hoping for.
I think we made our point strong and clear.
Yes.
Any other comments from any of the presenters?
I thought we made them perfectly clear.
Do you have a comment?
No, just cynical. I was just being cynical. That's all.
Okay, next. We done with the downtown review.
Teaching and learning.
Then we'll go to teaching, learning, and communications. Trustee Simpson.
I'm going to turn it over to Heather.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, before we start with this, I guess I didn't speak up soon enough. I just want to commend everybody who's been part of this. I mean, this is really first class. It really looks great. I think the
Yes.
people in downtown and the west side, the entire community is going to be very proud of this facility. And I can see some heads nodding back there. And Dick, I know we've got a bunch of people that are going to be really happy with this. So just keep up the good work. We appreciate your time and effort
Yes.
tonight. Thank you.
Yes, and I certainly, on behalf of the board, echo Gloria's comments that this is going to be a first-class thing. It's something we wanted for a long, long time, and we know the West Side wanted it for a long, long time. So keep up the good work and get her in under budget.
Ta-da! Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. I have a quick enrollment update for you. As you know, numbers change daily, so as of this morning for summer, we're still 92% to both budget and goal, which is understandable considering classes began in mid-June. But there is some change with the fall numbers. As of this morning, we're ahead of last year, and we're now 78% to budget and 76% to the stretch goal. Thank you.
You will be on budget when the registration stops?
I believe so, considering at this time last year, we were only 72% to budget, and right now we're 78%
That's good. You're running ahead of
to
last
budget, so we're on track.
Good. Any questions? Any comments? None? Moving on.
Good afternoon, trustees. I have 3 sets of asks this afternoon. My first ask is for us to approve the dual and articulated credit MOUs from 7 school districts. We have 6 renewals, and one of them is a brand new one, Keith Country Day. That's an independent, non-sectarian school, so they have no affiliation to any political group or any religious organization. They will be starting off with some dual credit options. They'll be doing Bio 103 and Bio 104 with us. The next ask is to...
Well, explain again what an articulated credit is.
Sure. So do you know what a dual credit is, or you need
I
explanation
know what
for
the
that
dual
too?
credit is, but what's articulated?
Okay, the articulated credit is where a student would take a particular course in high school. So let's say, for instance, they would do Intro to Criminal Justice in high school with a high school teacher. They'll get a grade of B or better. Then they come to Rock Valley College, and then they'll do the next course. They might do Criminal Justice. When they do that Criminal Justice course at Rock Valley College and they pass that, we'll give them retroactive credit for the Intro to Criminal Justice course.
These are the Lincoln Talent with Opportunity.
Yes.
And no, we rebranded it to dual and articulated credit because K-12 understood dual and articulated credit, but they didn't understand the linking talent with opportunity. So the pathways that we had with the previous president, so students can take those classes sophomore, junior, senior year, maybe get 9 or 12 credits before they graduate, but finish a certificate, hopefully either in the summer or the first semester.
At the college.
At the college, so they can experience the completion right away.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
So the second set of ask is to approve the IGAs, which is the run and start agreements for 4 school districts. All these are renewals. We have no new IGAs for this bucket. And then the last one is a new one. It's a senior semester agreement with Byron School District. So a senior semester is where students spend their senior year in high school at Rock Valley College. And what we are hoping with this particular agreement is that those students have intentions of entering the nursing program. So what we would like to do is have them complete the prereqs for nursing during their senior year, their final semester in high school, before they actually start Rock Valley College the next semester. And that's it.
Sir, Paul, and then John.
Well, those are mighty easy asks. They're going to be a lot easier asks than when Rick comes to us and says, hey, you guys told me we could pave that parking lot for $500,000 or $750,000. No, those are, Keith, how many students are at Keith right now?
I'm really not sure, but I think they're starting off very small with us because they're only doing Bio 103 and 104 as early college options or dual credit options. And I think too as well, because their students have to pay,
Right.
you know, the school district doesn't pay for them, so that's probably another reason too why they started off so small.
That's fine. I mean, it was just a few years ago where Rockford didn't have that many people, and they could have had more, where
Yeah.
Belvedere was kind of huge as a percentage. So, and anybody joining the program is good,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Good, thank
So
you.
that's another win for us. And then next, yes.
Oh, go ahead, I didn't mean to.
No, I was just going to say that we have more agreements coming next month. I know that RPS 205, they just signed their stuff today, so at the next committee of the whole, I'll be presenting RPS 205 and the other remaining school districts that are still outstanding.
Cool.
John?
Can you, on the three asks, I saw where some of the schools are paying tuition in some of the programs, others are not. Byron seems like it's one that doesn't. What I'm curious about is these are valuable agreements simply for the connection to the student, but how do we get tuition, or how do we get paid on
From
these
the
various
district,
programs?
Patrick, you have any idea? Because that might be more of your wheelhouse in terms of that aspect. I don't get down too much into that.
For the districts, I think that helps support the tuition. We don't charge, it's part of dual credit. We're not charging them a full tuition rate for the high school dual credit student to earn the credit at Rock Valley College.
Okay.
It's not the same rate. I believe, Dr. Spearman may know too, but I believe it's $50 per course as part of the dual credit.
There's something minimal.
It's a minimal cost.
Very minimal.
We get a different, Alan, we get a different portion from the state for those enrollments, but the high school and the students themselves don't pay a full tuition rate as part of the dual credit.
The other piece to this is that the district decides whether or not they're going to cover the student's tuition or require the student to pay. And we don't have any influence on whether or not they do that. And the district determines the process or the criteria for which students can sign up or participate in the programs as well.
And any materials, then the district also chooses whether or not the district will support the cost of materials, textbooks, or if that's on the individual student and their family.
Correct.
Paul and then John.
And then if the students are paying it, or the students and family, however, it's arranged, are they eligible then for scholarships or grants from any source?
They're not eligible, I don't believe, for Rock Valley College Foundation scholarships, and they are not eligible at that time for federal financial aid grants or loans, because they are not officially college enrolled, and they're not 18.
Correct.
If you heard of anybody who felt that the tuition might be a barrier for any of these students?
Yes. Well, there are
in this
certain
program.
districts, because there are some students or parents that wish that the districts would be more flexible. But if you just, like, parents have the flexibility to say, you know what, I still want my son or daughter to do this, my student to do this, they have to pay out of pocket, and sometimes that can hurt the pockets of those parents. But with that said, if they can afford the tuition, right, they're still saving thousands and thousands of dollars when they graduate from us and transfer to that four-year school institution. But in the moment, there are some parents who would say that they can't afford it, so they don't do it. They go back to the K-12.
Okay, I was just wondering, is it if the foundation doesn't currently, offer assistance in this, is that a legal reason or just a decision that was made?
Well, I think they're supporting RVC students, not high school students.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Although it might be worth asking them, the foundation, to see if they would extend the scholarship.
But if you offer too many scholarships and entice too many students to come out of the classroom
run out
to
of
do
money.
that, well, you might run out of money, but the school district could always say, stop allowing them to do that if it hurts them. It's a slippery slope. on that partnership.
John?
Is there any prohibition if I have a student and I don't go through any of these programs, but I enroll them in Rock Valley, I can do that, pay full tuition, right?
Yes, or homeschool. We definitely have homeschool students that will do that.
Okay.
So they're under 18 and they'll come here and graduate from us with and have their college degree and then go on from there when they're 18. So yes.
Okay.
I mean, just on this point, it'd be interesting to see how does Belvedere do it as compared to our 205 do it. Because Belvedere's had a high participation rate through the years as compared to 205, which has been a lower. So what makes the difference between them? John?
Well, I think that, and Gloria would probably know more since she's been there, but I think that the structure of 205 is such that Belvedere, I think, they want their students to be educated to the maximum. But 205 is a little bigger, and they have more, as the president so eloquently puts it, a slippery slope. And you know, their program at Auburn is very good and very sophisticated, and I don't think they want a lot of those particular students going to Rock Valley instead of staying at Auburn and supporting those classes. On the other hand, I know that I've had friends or parents that have just paid the bill and sent their kids to Rock
Sure.
Valley. And I think that's fairly substantial.
I think the other thing that, maybe you're watching this, but I know several months ago I sat in on a 205 presentation at the former Stenstrom Center, where they are going to take that building and convert it basically into a career academy with all kind of different technology and different kind of, and it'll be available to all students within the whole of 205's district. So the question is, how will that fit into them being a feeder to Rock Valley College? I mean, you don't have to answer it
Yeah.
now, but it'd be interesting
We're
to follow that.
we're gonna have their advanced classes.
Pardon
that
me?
We'll have the advanced classes they'll have to have.
Yeah.
Like always, we've been very good at being responsive to our community, so we'll be able to adjust some of our curriculum accordingly.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Anything else on these various
No.
items? No?
That's just my ask. Those
Thank you.
three steps.
Thank you. We'll move on.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have several presentations for your reading pleasure. And in case AACC is the American Association of Community Colleges. And these are presentations that you made at the conference?
Yes, sir. At the national conference, early April, the beginning of April of this past year. It is the major conference or the primary conference for community college administrators, presidents, and executive cabinet level and others. So it's a training space. It was just great. I think we had a pretty full house on both presentations. Dr. Smith led the first presentation, and then Dr. Stewart's team led the second presentation, and both presentations were well received. So it was a good experience.
Okay, any other comments on these? If not, we'll move on to...
I do. Excuse me.
Sorry, Gloria?
Yeah, just here on page 11 on the first one where it says Establish Golden Eagles Academy. It sounds like it was already established. Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any others? If not, we'll move on to the finance. Trustee Gorski.
Ta-da! Alan Olson. I'll have you know I don't like anything in her presentation already, so.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So first, we have Purchase Report A, which is an FY24 amendment. This is for advertising with Hulu for an increase of $996 for a total of $40,996. This is for the video commercial time for streaming platforms, which includes ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu. The fourth quarter scheduling included a few more minutes than anticipated, so this increase will cover the final cost for fiscal year '24. Are there any questions regarding this one?
Nope.
Ellen, I can't believe you let them go over $1,000 on this. But having said that, you know, when you campaign these days, you got to stream and all that stuff. And you know how much I love that. But you know, you get excited and you want to advertise a little more and that kind of thing. And it's a kind of a small portion of our budget. But are we going to, this is the first quarter, are we going to have this like every quarter or?
Going back to FY24, this is for the prior fiscal year, so that's to close
okay.
out the prior fiscal year.
Oh, well, then that's great.
And-
Only 996 over, that's good.
Ad marketing did not go exceed their entire budget. It's just the purchase order or the blanket purchase order has been exceeded by $996, so we need
Well, and we paid those bills, or?
We will be paying that bill as soon as this is approved.
Okay.
All right, next is Purchase Report B. We have several items this evening. The first one is for ABS training and consulting for a not to exceed of $25,000. This is for the safety certification training for students in the Highway Construction Careers Training Program, or HCCTP. This does allow them to be safer for HCCTP realized field work and makes them more marketable for the industry and entry level ready for local opportunities. One thing that was shared was one student that was possessing the ATSSA flagger card as a spring 2024 graduate was able to walk on to a job site as a local 32 laborer and begin work immediately flagging for Corin at a nearby IDOT project. Cool. So that's that purpose of that training. And that is paid by a grant. The next item is for ADEX Educational Systems for $117,450. This is for 3 FANUC ER4IA robots and their educational training carts. ADEX is the sole distributor for FANUC in our region. So this equipment is to incorporate cutting-edge technologies into the welding curriculum and enhance the welding department's ability to deliver training to students. Item C,
It is, I know welding is big, but that's about all I know about welding. And robotics are the way of the future for that, I understand. Now, is this the most used, or do we have any more background information on these robots we're getting? I understand they're necessary for training. I don't know if training's translatable. Were these a deal? Were they, I mean, $117,000, that's a little more than $996.
it looks like Dr. Stewart has
So,
an answer.
Trustee Nelson, we'll be using this for welding, but also for manufacturing too as well. So in the industrial maintenance space and the mechatronics space too as well. These types of robots were told to us to be the cutting edge types of equipment to be used, and it's the most in-demand type of equipment used in this space. What we are hoping is that when we get this, we'd at least be able to have 2 students or train 2 people on a robot at a time, instead of just having 1. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, next item is C. This is for Heartland Financial USA, not to exceed of $910,000. This expense is currently, I'm going to explain, we do a purchase card program or P card program currently through American Express. We are looking at replacing American Express with a Visa card program, which is more widely accepted. So this will be replacing that blanket purchase order that was approved in July for American Express. And once the cardholders receive their new Visa card, the American Express cards will be canceled and the American Express account will be closed.
Yes, sir, John?
Thank you. Ellen, I assume there is already a budgeted line item for the American Express cards?
Correct.
And the $910,000 would be in addition to whatever is left over, or we aren't going to have anything left over, or what?
We will be canceling that blanket purchase order with American Express and replacing it with this.
Same amount?
Yeah.
No, the American Express one right now is $1 million.
So
But they're not
we approved
spending
$1
the
million.
money.
No, we're not going to spend the $1 million.
Well, no, I know, but we approved $1 million, but now you're going to replace it with a 910.
With the 910 because it was allowing us time to get the Visa card program up and running
Right.
later this fall.
Oh, okay. So is there going to be money left? Are we going to get a refund from American Express, or are these the administration fees, or what?
No, we pay American Express as we incur the credit card bills. We've not sent anything to American Express except what we have charged on the purchase cards.
Right. And so aren't we changing in the middle of a budget year?
Yes, but we're just changing providers. But we have not paid American Express the $1 million.
Right,
Yeah.
I get that.
Okay.
So the money that isn't spent out of the $1 million, is that going to be part of the $910,000, or what are we going to do with that?
The $1 million will be canceled. What's left of the $1 million will be canceled because we won't get the program up and running until August probably. So what's remaining of that will be canceled, and in its place, we'll have this $910,000.
It sounds to me like you will not spend as much once you make this move as we originally approved. Basically, you're not spending as much.
I think you're saying the same thing. You just got an accountant mind when you say it. But you're saying the same thing regarding, so, yes. To answer your question.
Yes, you're going to save 90,000 at least.
$1 million will be gone, not spent.
I understand it.
Okay. So it was, there's Visa also, and you work with different banks. How did we get hooked up with this particular deal? Was that the best deal out there, or what?
Actually, when we did the request for presentation, RFP. Proposal, thank you. Proposal with the other banks, we asked for other options, and some of the banks did present other options, and Illinois Bank and Trust presented an option for a purchase card program. I can say from dealing with numerous phone calls on purchase card programs from other vendors, and I have talked to other vendors, is that this program is the best that I have encountered as far as paying what I'm going to call rebate or rewards back to the college, because they'll do it on $1, and most of them would require us to have an annual spend of over $1 million before they'll give us anything.
And so how long did we sign a contract, and how long is it for, or can we cancel at any time? Or?
We can cancel any time.
Okay.
We're not in a contract.
Well, that's all the questions I have on this one.
Okay, move on.
The next item D is for abatement services. It's Hogan Environmental Cleaning for $437,380. This is for abatement services for the downtown West Campus. It was opened with bid 24-17. That was opened on June 25th, and this award does include a 10% contingency.
Okay, Paul, you have...
My question was simply on the previous discussion. We spent quite a bit of time, and I saw you, President Spearman, kind of smirking on it now. If former chair, former trustee Murphy was here, we would have spent a half hour talking about Miller versus Lincoln welding equipment, and quite frankly, that's a decision that you made, and I'm good with it. I'm quite sure that you did your research on the affordability and any rebates that would come back to us for the college on the expenditures. So thank you very much for all your work on that and trying to save some money. So thank you.
John?
Not that these companies aren't local, but is there any local firm in the area that could have done this environmental cleaning, or is that you have to go out of town to do that?
It's actually a very specialized field, and I was curious, so I asked that very question. And there are no firms in Rockford or the surrounding area that do this type of work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But you did put it out to bid anyway, right?
Well, we would have had to put it out to bid, but I was curious.
Yeah,
Similar to Trustee Nelson.
Okay, thank you. Next item, Ellen?
Next item is for a cybersecurity assessment. This is for Illumination Consulting for $29,340. This is for a cybersecurity penetration test and risk assessment.
Right, local company.
The next item.
There's a wide variance that I wonder about, but anyway.
So it turns out the owner or one of the principals of Illumination Consulting did attend Rock Valley College in the 1980s, and he is a cybersecurity specialist, and this was his way of partially giving back to the college by charging us a reduced fee.
Great.
Also, Trustee Nelson, I mean, there could be wide variance in a lot of the bids. I'm familiar with IT bids. A few years ago, I got one on one project. The low was 108 per year for this contract. The other one was $380,000, and I'm just like, they just misread what we needed and stuff like that. Here, I'm guessing CDWG came in at their list prices for things, and Sickage probably just has a flat rate for customers and, stuff like that. So it's glad, I was talking to Ellen about this, it's glad that we were able to offer to work to a former grad, so it's great.
Okay, move on, Ellen.
All right, the next item is Lincoln Electric Company for $345,800. This is for 4 Classmate Pro robotic welding systems with a Prism compact fume extraction system. This is for technologies into the mechatronics curriculum to increase their ability to deliver training services.
I'm channeling former trustee Murphy. Why not Miller?
Dr. Stewart?
I guess the question would be, is Lincoln the predominant welding tool in our community?
I think so, and I think what is important to note is, I want to say this about this expense is that, for instance, General Mills is engaging us, and they have been one of our biggest clients. We're getting into manual machining and industrial maintenance with them, and also they have taken FANUC training for robotics too as well. When we look at Woodward too as well, they want the same type of training. So a lot of revenue is being generated from customized training with these robots and stuff for mechatronics and industrial maintenance and welding.
And I'll say we have a pretty new welding faculty overall. So 4 years ago, I know we were going back and forth between Lincoln and Miller, but now we have a new group of welders who are looking at the best product for us, and decide at Lincoln.
And what's the rest of the welding equipment do we have over there at ATC? Is it Lincoln?
I think so.
I believe it's Lincoln.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
I believe it's Lincoln.
So basically, we're just adding more Lincoln to Lincoln.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, we are the state of Abraham Lincoln.
that's right.
I'll wait till after the meeting to text Murph, okay? I don't know.
All right, moving on to the next item. Item G, Midwest Environmental Consulting for $48,100. This is for the professional services regarding the abatement project at downtown West Campus. So they will provide the project management oversight of the abatement requirements and the air quality testing. Item H is Snyder Electric for $34,336. This is part of one of the capital projects that has been presented and that we have been setting money aside for. This is for professional services regarding the security system upgrades. Right now, it will be for Springbrook House, Support Services Building, Bell School Building, Bell School and Building E. Snyder will provide the services as a project engineer and consultant for the security system upgrades. So this is looking at a campus-wide wireless lock survey to determine the scope of work for subcontractors and assistance in the drafting bid specs for installing the new system. Our current system is over 25 years old and beyond its end of life, and parts are very difficult to locate and requires upgrading.
So they're providing basically advice to us, right? And then we're going to put a thing out for bid, or are they going to provide the new system?
They are writing the bid specifications for us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the so security is very specific. So generally, this would be like the architect or the engineer for a project.
I get that.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is, if they provide these bid specifications, they're not going to bid on the...
So what happens is some of the technology is vendor specific because it's an upgrade, but there are parts of it that can still be bid out, the installation of the locks, the wiring, and things of that nature. So everything that can be bid out, in these so that we can bid that out. And then what I call the parts and smarts, the head end stuff, that it's just a term. That will obviously be part of the items that will eventually be provided by Schneider. It's just kind of the way, it's similar to HVAC systems. There's things that you can bid out, and then there's the technology part and the programming.
Well, thank you.
Paul?
Thank you, Chairman. So when you talk security systems, it sounds like you're talking about door locks, security locks, and the like that. Are you talking cameras too, or?
No, our camera system is more up to date.
Okay, that's just one. So you're talking, essentially building security in office
Alarms. Yeah, keep door access.
Door
those type of
access.
things.
So everything. I would consider alarms, access control, and then the monitoring of that in terms of the cameras as being like three key components. We're not talking about cameras, we're talking about the other two, though.
Correct.
Okay, very good, thanks.
All right, that is the end of the purchase reports.
Don't you have a number, sir? Oh.
Cash and investment report.
All right, moving on to the cash and investment report.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So, operating cash and investments increased by $7.8 million to $95.2 million as of June 30th, and this is due to the receipt of local property taxes from the various counties. Capital funds increased $5.7 million to $18.7 million at the end of June, driven by property tax receipts for debt service and life safety. Are there any questions regarding this report?
Are we in good shape?
We are in good shape.
Yes, I know.
Next, we have a reimbursement resolution for Classroom Building 2 and the Health Sciences Project. our Health Sciences Center project. This is a reimbursement resolution for $14.7 million. April 23rd of '24, Board Report 8148, the board approved the selection and option and authorization to open a trust account for CL2 renovation project with the Capital Development Board. The college portion of that project is $18 million, which needs to be funded at the end of August, as CDB requires those funds to be deposited to the trust account prior to their September board meeting. The $14.7 million is the gap between the $18 million required and available cash that was released by CDB in fiscal year '24 from the CL1 project, and that was originally issued or available from 2015 bonds, so it can be used for the CL2 project. So what we will be doing is in August, I will be sending $18 million to the CDB trust account. 14.7 will be coming from the bonds that we are expecting to settle in November now. And then this resolution allows us to take that bond money and pay back our operating fund upon receipt of the bonds. Is there any questions?
No, none here.
Very good.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
The next one is a reimbursement resolution for the new district facility, downtown Rockford campus. It is a similar situation. This is asking for an increase of $9 million to $9 million from the initial $2 million approved in Board Report 8105 in November of 2023. This increase is based on projected cash drawdowns and expenses related to the project and the timing of the bonding in calendar year 2025. This gives the college the flexibility to reimburse itself for expenses associated with this project when bond receipts are received. So we would be paying back, again, our operating fund for any expenses associated with this project. Are there any questions?
That's depressing, so there are no questions.
That means I've explained it clearly.
No, well, you did.
And that is the end of my reports for
Thank you,
tonight.
Ellen, very much.
Thank you, Ellen. Good job.
Thank you, Ellen.
We're in good shape. And we'll move on to the operations now. Trustee Kennedy.
Yes, go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. Appreciate that. First item tonight is the personnel report. We are gearing up for the fall semester, so obviously now is a busy time replacing instructors and getting things ready for the fall semester. So as you can see, we have a couple of new business instructors that will be starting in the fall. In August, we also have a nursing lab simulator instructor starting in the fall. You can see their names there. We do have the interim director of student life and intercultural student services. Whew, that's a long title. That one was actually finalized yesterday, and that is going to go to Takesha Brooks, who is currently a personal and success counselor. So that information will be added in for the next meeting. Currently, Dr. Amanda Smith is working on fulfilling a nursing instructor position. This is actually occurring this week, and we should hopefully have answers next week for that one and the chemistry position. As I said, this is a busy time. We're trying to fill all these positions before the beginning of the fall semester. And in addition, Amanda will have another nursing instructor position that we will be trying to fill that may be added to this report also. So it's a busy time in Amanda's area trying to fill all these positions.
So expect a red line version for the upcoming board meeting.
Correct.
July board meeting.
The final one, the Director of Career Services and Job Placement, they actually were interviewing today, I believe, for that, this week. And they will have that position also ready for a red line for the board for the next meeting. And
John?
Go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the unfilled ones, and you know what a big fan I am of that, do they start? When do they start?
Well, yeah, okay. I'll let Amanda, Dr. Smith answer.
The instructors or the faculty, they will start at the fall semester. And unfortunately, that occurs prior to the August board meeting. And so normally I certainly wouldn't have so many place spaces up there.
I've seen more.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Gorski.
Question? John Paul.
Hi, thank you. John Paul, is there, yeah, there you go. I've been here since 2017 or so, and it seems to me that I've heard 3 or 4 openings for chemistry professors over the years. Is that a position that seems to have high turnover? Or? No?
Our chemistry faculty have been here for a while. We do have one that is in the tenure process. The rest of them have been here a good amount of time. We've had to adjust sometimes whether we're hiring based on the need of our community. And so that's how we determined it.
Okay.
Thank
just
you.
Wondering. Yep. It was my major, so I was just wondering. Every time I hear it or biology, I'm like, what's going on the physical science or the natural sciences? So, all right, thanks.
We do have a couple of departures. Mike Youngblood is retiring. He's been a longtime faculty member here, and good for him that he's going to be able to retire and enjoy things. We do also have Mark Adelson, who originally wanted to retire in July of 2024 after having, or originally retired, yes, July 19th, 2024. He had some conversations with the dean, and we are working on trying to hire replacements for the aviation. We actually need 2 positions. We're probably going to get 1 filled, and so Mark has graciously agreed that he would stay on for a semester to assist us in that need so that we can fill 1 position and then work on filling that 2nd position.
That's good, because that program is always booked, isn't it, in a
Yes,
waiting list?
it is very popular.
Yes, sir, John.
Well, I know, certainly I know Mike Youngblood, and I certainly am aware of Mark. And, you know, those are big shoes to fill. And I'm confident we'll be able to fill them. But everybody has to retire sometime, including me. So.
Yeah. And enjoy life. I wholeheartedly agree. Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll move on to the CL2 update. There's not much of an update for CL2, just that Ellen and I, and Ellen, well, mainly Ellen, is working through the finances to get the money in for CDB. CDB has informed me that they are still on track for the August 26th decision-making interviews for the different architects. So we will continue to monitor that, and we'll have greater details later as we learn more from CDB. So not a huge update in regards to that. The next item is going to be change orders. As you recall, if we have change orders, I bring them to the board. This is actually for the parking lot 1 and walkways construction, and this is because we had to bring in additional fill, or what's undercut. Good or bad, we did have kind of a wet period here with a lot of rain, and some of our readings was the ground was too soft, so we did have to bring in some additional fill to firm up those walkways. But the good news is that should shore those walkways up for many years to come. So, any questions on that? Really wasn't it was not really a surprise. We have there's a reason we're around Spring Creek, Spring Brook. There's a lot of water in the ground around here. The final item that I have is for the events calendar. A couple areas that I will highlight is July 17th, we have the new student welcome event at the Student Center Atrium. Always a fun event for Patrick's area and for all of us to see some of those new students. We do have the smart camps going at the ATC. I know that's a big item that I know I enjoy trying to get out there, and I'll try and get out there and see because I think that's fun. And finally, for Trustee Trojan, July 27th, 2024, put it on your calendars, we have the robotics competition in the PEC, which is a very good time.
32 teams from the greater Midwest will be here making lots of noise.
There you go. Yeah, you do want to take some Advil with you.
Yes, sir, Paul.
I just like to comment, a few years back, like that weekend, I'll be headed out of town again. I might stop by because when I stopped by a few years ago, I saw Bob, and he was so excited. It was like he was a kid in a candy shop. He was showing me, let me show you this, let me show you this, let me introduce you to these people. He was so excited. I mean, it was so cool to see his support for the program and that there were so many people there and there was so much activity going on. So I feel his excitement and I appreciate his enthusiasm for the event. So good. And so, how many people, or what's how many?
Somewhere 1,200, 1,500 people will come in through the day, and
how many entrants? So you said 30.
32 teams from
32 teams. Cool.
Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa. I think there's one from Michigan, Indiana. So they come in the night before, day before, and some of them they go to a game room that night before, and then 8 o'clock in the morning, it's full out. It's going like crazy. And it's a free event. I mean,
Yes.
you know. And, oh, by the way, Northern Illinois University has become a sponsor, and so they're going to have 3 tables for NIU, and I know Rock Valley College always has their engineering program on display there, too, so that students coming in, they can see what we offer engineering-wise. And now NIU, who's our partner in the engineering school, will also be there showing their programs. So,
Wonderful.
you know, it's a good exposure for the college as well.
That ends
Anything
all
else, Rick? Thank
that
you very
ends me
much.
for tonight. So unless
Thanks for the plug.
All right, thank you.
Other business, unfinished business, new business. I have a new business thing, which I think, yes, sir, John.
Just briefly, I know it's the heart of summer when it's freezing in this room.
Yeah.
And I see we're still working on that. Then on the way down here, I see we're still repairing it. Rick, is that going to be done anytime soon?
Recurring?
I'm talking about the side.
yeah, if you're talking about the side, yeah, they are working on that. We've ran into some delays, more so I think with the weather more than anything, and we will be. They're supposed to be done in another week. Pending weather, another week. So we'll say 2 weeks.
Okay. And then finally, Bob, one of the things I explored with the RHA lawyer was, what about getting some parking spaces in the county's parking ramp? That's really about half a block away from their offices. So if we talk with them, we might or you might want to talk to the county board chairman or whoever, Howard, and see about that. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, we have some unfinished business.
Yes. Want to officially introduce everybody to Araceli Wave. Araceli started July 1st. And so she's been training for the last 2 weeks, and you'll see more of her throughout the year. Betsy will be transitioning over to HR come August 1st. But I also want to let you know that the one and only Ann Kerwitz will be out of the office for about 2 weeks in July. Dealing with the carpal tunnel on the right hand now. So connect with for the next 2 weeks in July, just reach out to Betsy or myself, and we'll try to respond accordingly. How about that? Yes.
This might be something for a closed session or something, but you've got one person that hasn't been in your office very long and is trying to get out, and one that's slashing her wrist. So I really don't, well, maybe we need to talk about this.
No comment.
Okay, no comment. Okay.
That was my 2 reports.
Okay, we got a piece of new business. You all have received the notice for election for members of the Board of Trustees. We were advised late this morning that the dates for pulling the petitions has been moved up a month into August, and they have to be turned in by November 12th through November 18th, which is 1 month on that end. And apparently, due to the crush of things at the holiday season, has caused the state election board to move it up, and this applies to all elected officials for the spring. So we will be adding this to our agenda for the board meeting for approval. Basically, we approve the appointment of an alternative designated representative for this, which is always Ellen, the financial office. We acknowledge the scheduling of this. We don't approve it because that's dictated, but we do acknowledge it. So that'll be what will be presented at the board meeting. 3 seats are open, and they're all 6-year seats. We will also be putting out a press release to all the media to advise the community, because we don't want to look like we're keeping it from the community that 3 seats are coming due. So that will be the plan going forward on this particular issue. Any questions? John?
Well, I'll ask you after the meeting, why would we do that?
Why what?
I'm kidding.
Well, actually,
yes, sir, Paul.
I liked it. I like the idea of, promoting, positions that are open and the like, but I can't think of any, and I know that you don't, but we're a unit of government. And I can't think of any other unit of government that puts out a press release to say, the elections are coming, sign up, pull your petitions now. I like the idea. I just can't think of anybody else that does. Like library district, I can't remember, township, county.
Right.
It's kind of strange. You'd think they would, but all right. Thank you very much for
Well, we
bringing
have
it up.
such a big territory too, all of Boone, all of Winnebago, and parts of 3
and I think it's a
others,
good
so
idea. It's just kind of, I'm thinking back in I've been held 4 different offices. I can't think of anybody that really promoted it,
Yeah, I just, make it transparent.
Thanks, Bob.
Any other questions on this issue?
I just,
Gloria?
well, actually, just so we're live streaming, so everybody knows the 3 positions that are going to be open, Trustee Kennedy, Trustee Gorski, and myself. So we will have, I and you will have completed this 6-year term, and you were appointed, so you are going to be running again, and we appreciate that. So, but anyway, yeah. Let them know.
Do you think
so that we
anybody's
can-
watching the live stream, Gloria?
Pardon me?
Do you think anybody's watching the live stream?
Well, if 3 people,
They're watching.
maybe if 3 people are watching, those 3 might be interested. So,
Oh,
They can watch it later. It's being recorded.
If they're watching, they're more likely to be interested.
Well,
True.
maybe they'll see what goes on and, whatever.
We
So
actually received positive feedback about having the live stream.
It's actually, our viewership is growing for the last 3
I want the
Stream
Nielsen ratings on the RVC Committee of the Whole meetings for the period of January through July.
Any other points? If not, the next regular Board of Trustee meeting will be July 23rd at 5:15. It will be held right here in the PAR, room 0214 in the ARC building, same place. Next Committee of the Whole meeting, August 13th. Meeting will be held in the Performing Arts Room, PAR 0214, right here. Bring your sweaters and the ERC. I forgot mine. So we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I think we can do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
You can stay.
You're on the cleanup committee.
All right, thank you.
All right.